the Kill Clip Golf Club. Tap into special offers like flash sales and exclusive merch, deep discounts, and eternal awesomeness. Go to killclip.com to get your discounts on.
Freeze sleeve. Freeze it. Sleeve it. Relieve it. Go to freesleeve.com.
As a reward for making Kill Clip the undisputed clean energy drink of America and beyond, we've packed in more B vitamins, electrolytes, and killer taste than ever. And as a bonus, we've made the ultimate loyalty program. It's not a cult, it's not a club, it's the Kill Clip Golf Club. Tap into special offers like flash sales and exclusive merch, deep discounts, and eternal awesomeness. Go to killclip.com to get your discounts on.
Freeze sleeve. Freeze it. Sleeve it. Relieve it. Go to freesleeve.com.
As a reward for making Kill Clip the undisputed clean energy drink of America and beyond, we've packed in more B vitamins, electrolytes, and killer taste than ever. And as a bonus, we've made the ultimate loyalty program. It's not a cult, it's not a club, it's the Kill
there's also been legal action taken in recent years regarding the NFL's kind of lack of protection or responsibility for players' brain health. And I'm curious about how you were involved in that, and for you, what was that course of action like for you?
Well, I think everyone takes a very evaluate each individual as an individual, and then you get.
Best ball season is here, and it's bigger than ever. With no waivers, trades, or setting lineups, it has never been easier to have a shot at the $1 million grand prize. Underdog Fantasy lets you draft a season-long league in seconds, thanks to their slick mobile app and state-of-the-art website. And best of all, if you don't love it, there's a $100 money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Draft for the 2021 season today.
The bigger part here is there are so many people that are impacted by concussions that don't play football, right? That's how many other sports, right? You're talking about soccer has a major issue with concussions. Hockey has major issues. The military, obviously, there's so many other avenues, but obviously this being football programming and everybody that's watching being a football fan, you're focused on, what can we do to make the game safer? And how do we do that? And this seems like a really, really good option. So, I'd love for you to kind of give us a scene from the football perspective that, what has changed even since you were in the game? I think it's something that I know I'm 31 years old. I can remember watching football even 10 years ago. I don't remember hearing the words concussion protocol so many times, right? It feels like every Sunday you hear those words. So what has changed since you've been playing?
Well, there's so many aspects to it. I mean, the guys are bigger and stronger and faster than they've ever been. And so, it's funny. I'll go and watch games live now, and I'll be standing on the sidelines, and I'll watch the game and the collisions, and I sit back and I go,
oh, yeah. From Kill Cliff, the #1 clean energy drink in the mind of Joe Rogan, comes the Flamin' Joe. Sugar-free, B vitamins, electrolytes, all them good drink things. An epic spicy pineapple fusion from out of this world, straight into your drink hole. Own it. KillCliff.com. Oh yeah. From Kill Cliff.
Ladies and gentlemen, Draft Night. This is us, the Draft Network TV, the Draft Network and Brinks TV, here to you live. It's night one. We're 30 minutes out, and we're excited to bring you the best coverage for the NFL Draft that there is. First, though, we do have a special guest to kick things off for us, a Hall of Fame guest, if you don't mind me saying so, longtime Buffalo Bills wide receiver, Andre Reed, the Hall of Famer. Andre, thank you so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it. I'm so happy that you're here, and I know that you work with Block Sports. I know that that's what powers our operation here at Brinks TV, where you get to bet with your friends, trivia, and gamified TV, get to your Brinks bucks, and you're able to make even more bets. So I want to know what's exciting about Block Sports. What are they working on? Why do you love it so much?
Well, I got introduced by my management team. My girlfriend actually introduced me to what Block Sports does, and they do tremendously more than any other sports betting format does. They're very in this exchange that they cut out the middleman. They don't bring the house into play, and you can bet against each other and things of that nature. So a lot of safeguards, there's fraud and all that kind of stuff that you have in different betting formats. Block Sports has cut all that out. So I'm very excited to be partnering with them. Actually, me and Marshawn Lynch to be partnering with them and what they do. And it's I think it's a great format for people that are sports betting in this country right now.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Bills wide receivers. I heard they play a lot of those guys, throw the ball around the yard a little bit. John Brown out, Emmanuel Sanders in, rookie Gabriel Davis, and of course, Stephon Diggs. Is this the best receiving core in the league, do we think? It sounds like it.
Well, of course, I'm biased. I'm going to say yes. just what what Brian Dabble has done with that team the last 3-4 years. Obviously getting a quarterback that the Bills needed over the last 25 years since Jim Kelly and Josh Allen. I think he was second in the MVP voting this year. Had a great season, really stepped up his game this year than he did the year before. Completion percentage, touchdowns, yards, all the things, and didn't make the mistakes that he made the first 3 years in the league. And I think he learned a lot of that by what the offensive coordinator was giving him. You give him a playbook, give him this, give him that, but he's got to be able to grasp that and then relay it to the team, to the offense. And, picking up Stephon was probably the biggest acquisition the Bills had since, I'm going to say Cornelius Bennett trade back in '87. I mean, they've had some good trades over the years, but this one really set it off and propelled their offense to a top 5, top 6 offense in the league this year with that combination. Gabriel Davis from UCF did a great job this year as a rookie. The offensive line stood up and gave Josh more time. He didn't run as much as he did last year, but I think he has settled in. And I think, this year, not only are we looking more from them, I say we because I'm a Bill for life, they're going to be coming after him again. And I think, this draft is really important for the Bills, even though they picked 30th. The guys that they have now have to play better and to keep that rolling and get back to the AFC Championship again. I was at the game in Kansas City. We got to beat the Chiefs. That's the bottom line. Years ago, it was always beating Tom Brady and the Patriots. So it's not that we don't have to worry about the Patriots, but they're not the top dog on the hill in the AFC anymore. It's the Kansas City Chiefs, and we got to find a way to beat them probably to get to the Super Bowl.
I do want to ask, Andre, I've heard mixed reports on playing with a quarterback like Josh Allen. Wide receivers love it because they can run around the yard and he can hit you at any time. But sometimes your hands start to hurt a little bit because he throws with some mustard, especially in the cold. Would you have liked to have played with a quarterback like Josh Allen?
I played with one, Jim Kelly. He threw a hard ball. They didn't, in Buffalo, you got to throw a hard ball. The weather is very indicative of what goes on there during the year, especially during football season. Late November, December, we want to have games there where we can win and then go into playoffs, have home playoff games. Josh Allen fits that mold. Coming from Wyoming, he played in crazy weather. So Buffalo was a great fit for him. And he settled, like I said, he settled in. Again, Jim Kelly threw a hard ball, but he had to throw a hard ball in the wind. And sometimes the snow's coming different ways at you and the rain. And, he's a perfect fit for that kind of weather.
Now, I would be remiss, I don't get to usually ask Hall of Fame wide receivers about the upcoming wide receiver class. We got about 20 minutes before they start getting drafted. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Have you seen some of these top guys? And if so, who do you like?
Yeah, I have. I've watched a little bit this year in college football. It is a draft class at the skill position is very strong. Wide receiver, quarterback, they're the first 20 picks, the first round. You're going to see 5 quarterbacks go off the board. You're going to see at least 4 or 5 receivers go off the board. So teams that are really looking for that kind of player, whether or not they're down in the draft, they can be able to trade up and see if they can trade up or not. It is an indicative that they do. And that's what the draft is about. It's about jockeying, getting in a position to get the player that you want. And there's going to be some teams that are going to be doing that. Trevor Lawrence will probably be the first pick going to Jacksonville. These 5 quarterbacks are all going to go in the first 8 picks. So it's just what the team and what their makeup is to bring this quarterback in, because they're going to have to play right away to fit into what they're doing as an offense, and then building around him with the weapons that they have, with the players that they have, and allowing his skill set to make everybody better. That's what this league is about. It's a quarterback-driven league, and this is a draft class that has the quarterbacks that can make a difference right away in this league.
The quarterbacks are nuts, but Bills don't need a quarterback. I do got to ask you before you head out, who are you hoping the Bills drafted 30? You got a name, you got a position, you got a school maybe? Who are you targeting if you're in Brandon Beane's seat?
Yeah, again, it's kind of crazy. When you're picking 30th, it's really not you can't really say best available, but usually the first round, the top guys are gone in the first round, and then you get your sleepers in the second, third, fourth round, so and so. I would like to see him go edge rusher because we do need to put more pressure on the quarterback, especially, like I said before, with Mahomes in Kansas City and Justin Herbert there in San Diego, not San Diego, LA, sorry. I live in San Diego. So I would like to see him go edge. I think the young man from Miami really might fit the mode. I can't say his last name. Rousseau, maybe his last name is, from Miami. But we still have some guys there. AJ Epinesa from last year, Ed Oliver from the year before. And then these guys got to start really playing like first-round picks. And I think if you bring another edge rusher in, we need to put pressure on the passer every single play. This is imperative for us to get off the field, get our offense on the field to score some points. I think certain times during the season, we didn't get enough pressure on a quarterback. And, Leslie Frazier did a great job with the defense this past year. So it's imperative to get an edge rusher in this draft. And if we don't get an edge rusher in the first round, that first pick at 30, then we go for another guy in the second round and maybe a running back later in the draft.
Oh, you heard it, Brandon Bean. If you're listening, edge at 30, Gregory Rousseau, Andre. We so much appreciate having you on, man. Keep doing great stuff. I hope the Bills beat those Chiefs in the AFC Championship game this year for you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing them again. Like I said, we got a taste of what it's like. I know we went to 4 straight and we got a taste of it, and we didn't win the big one, but we were there 4 times in a row, which will never happen again. So I'm looking forward to them not only having a great draft class and guys helping out with what we have, but getting back to that championship game and going to the Super Bowl right up the street here in LA this year.
I love it. Thank you, Andre Reed, Hall of Fame receiver for the Buffalo Bills. Other Hall of Famers getting drafted this week. We hope so, maybe a couple of them tonight. It's round 1 of the NFL draft. If this doesn't get you hyped, I don't know what does. We are counting down the clock, and at 8 p.m. sharp, the Jaguars are on the clock, and we are live all night, 1 through 32. It's the Draft Network, baby. Make sure you catch us.
Yeah. From Kill Cliff, the #1 clean energy drink in the mind of Joe Rogan, comes the Flamin' Joe. Sugar-free, B vitamins, electrolytes, all them good drink things. An epic spicy pineapple fusion from out of this world, straight into your drink hole. Own it. KillCliff.com. Oh yeah. From Kill Cliff, the #1 clean energy drink in the mind of Joe Rogan, comes the Flamin' Joe. Sugar-free, B vitamins, electrolytes, all them good drink things. An epic spicy pineapple fusion from out of this world, straight into your drink hole. Own it. KillCliff.com. Oh yeah. From Kill Cliff, the #1 clean energy drink in the mind of Joe Rogan, comes the Flamin' Joe. Sugar-free, B vitamins, electrolytes, all them good drink things. An epic spicy pineapple fusion from out of this world, straight into your drink hole. Own it. KillCliff.com. Oh yeah.
Hey, and welcome. Instagram Live here with the Draft Network. We are at Brinks HQ in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I am Ben Solak. These are newfound TDN employees, the twins, Carlos and Khalil Davis of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, joining us for Draft Week. Rookies last year. Last we spoke was at the Shrine Game, so I'm curious, your draft process, your rookie season, you have a good time? How'd it go?
Like I tell everybody else, it was a crazy ride for a rookie year, especially with COVID and everything. But it was fun. I wouldn't change it for anything. It was a long year, but it was probably the most fun I've ever had. I won't change anything about the process.
Okay, well, you played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so I would imagine you wouldn't change anything about the process. I'm sorry, this question is definitely not for you.
Yes.
What's it like playing for a Super Bowl team?
I really didn't have an expectation. Like, I just thought I was on another football team or an NFL team, but I soon realized, like, we had some real dudes on our team. So it was fun. It was just fun to be able to learn and see Tom Brady and all those Gronk and all those superstars.
What was meeting Tom like? You were like, what's up? I'm a big fan. He was like, I don't really care. Get out of my face.
Well, it was like, we would go get COVID tested. He'd walk by and be like, man, I don't know what I'm about to say to him, but hopefully he said something first and he would be like, some kid or something like that. And I'd be like, oh man, Tom Brady just spoke to me.
That is pretty sick. What about you? Who'd you meet with the Steelers where you were like, dog, this is the guy?
Probably Bud Dupree.
Oh yeah? Bud's a good time. That's what I've heard. Bud's a lot of fun.
Bud's a lot of fun. He got his own show up there too as well in Pittsburgh, but he's just a good person and you just love to be around him. But like getting to meet him and see him in person, like he's a specimen. Like it's just unreal.
Sure.
Like,
what's the biggest difference, like NFL locker room versus a college locker room? 'Cause that's your first time in there day to day. Okay, so there is a big difference. What is it?
You just don't do all the playing around. You would do there's none of that in the NFL locker room. A little bit. Like with the wide receivers and the DBs, but like D linemen, O linemen, it's all business. It's serious.
Every locker room I've been in, every player I've talked to is like, yeah, it's all business, offensive line, it's serious. DBs are idiots. Everybody else is locked in, but the DBs and the wide receivers are messing around.
Yes.
And Pittsburgh's got a rambunctious wide receiver group out there.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely.
Yes, they do.
What was the college locker room then? What were the games with the Cornhuskers? You said it was horsing around, so.
Well, there's a lot of like wrestling, like a lot of like matches, like bets on like wrestling and like whose city is better, where you're from, like just dumb stuff.
Just all the dumb stuff? Well, that's what it should be in college.
Yes.
So who was the better wrestler back in college then?
We really didn't have to, they never told us to go do it, but I'd say I know who got beat a lot.
Who got beat a lot?
A dude named Deshaun. He used to get whooped a lot in the locker room. So that was
100%. He's not here to defend himself. Like, if Deshaun got beat a lot, he's gonna see this. He can't say anything about it.
Oh yeah.
All right. I do want to ask though, if we're talking about physical feats, 4.75 at the combine, right?
Yes, sir.
4.86.
4.82.
4.82. That's on me. That's on me.
No, you're good.
If you had to run the 40 again, what would you run right now?
I could get a 4.6 easy.
Right now, you've been trained.
No, I'm always training.
Oh, you're always in shape?
My trainer back home said you could easily run a 4.6, and then if you really watch it and break it down track wise,
All right. So you're out there scrubbing through the video, one second after one second. Oh, I got a 4.6 for sure. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
All right. And you're running 4.6?
I probably wouldn't run 4.6, but it'd probably be 4.7 low.
Okay, sure. Did you see all these pro day times this year because there's no combine? Everybody's running a 4.3. You're trying to tell me you'd run faster than the combine?
Yeah, laser.
Laser. Oh, okay.
Not the handheld, the real deal.
That's crazy. All right. I want to know, so you played behind Vita Vea, right? And you played across from guys, right? Ryan Jensen. You're there. Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, opposite Pouncey. Who are you learning from on a day-to-day when you're in the NFL locker room? Is it going up against the top guys? Is it working behind the top guys? What's that process like?
To be honest, it was like the guys in your room, the D-line room, and then if you're your rookie year, you're on scout team. So I was going up against Ali Marpet.
Yeah, Ali can play.
And Ali's the real deal. So each day I just loved trying to get in his head and beat him with a move. And it was just fun. Like, I got to go up against a really good dude every day. So it just makes you better.
Did you ever get Ali once?
I did.
Yeah. What'd you hit him with?
A few times. Double swipe, side scissors.
Side scissors all the time. What about you?
Pouncey was probably the more fun dude to go against.
Pouncey's the man, yeah, for sure.
He's just a very different dude, but we actually got into an altercation in camp this past year.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say how it went, but I was warned not to retaliate from other players just from experience. So that was fun, but
classic D-line talk. We got into an altercation. It was fun. We had a good time. Everybody was laughing. It was
typical D-line stuff.
Yeah, typical D-line stuff. We've got 300 odd players about to get picked, about to end up with teams. You've been through the process for a year. If you were looking back on it, what do you wish somebody would have told you then that you can now tell these upcoming rookies now?
That whether you go drafted or undrafted, that you're going to be okay. You got to see a lot of guys that didn't get drafted, but they got themselves on a team by working hard.
Right.
We're on the more end of we were later round guys, so it was a lot of sitting around for us and waiting. But I wish they would have told me not to be so stressed. Just relax, have fun, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, some of that stuff. I was watching the video of James Conner get drafted the other day. They were putting it back on, and he's stressing through day two. That's heartbreaking stuff. That's hard.
Nah, it is.
Yeah.
That's another thing they don't tell you about. When you don't hear your name called when it's supposed to be called, it's messes with your mental a little bit. So.
Yeah. What do you mean by what it's supposed to be called when you're like, all right, well, I'm obviously a top 10 pick, so I'm going to call top 10?
No. Well, they tell guys, oh, you're going to go this round, and then, it never happens that way. So just enjoy it. And, when your name or if your name isn't called, just still know you got a shot to make the team. So.
All right. What about the upcoming Cornhusker guys? We got 2 offensive linemen coming in, Brendan James and Matt Farniak. You guys go up against them much?
We did.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah,
Give me the scout report. What do we hear?
If you talk to them, they got stories for days on us. So don't ever interview them because they'll.
Well, okay. It's you right now. You got stories for days on that. That's what I want to hear.
Brendan is very seasoned. So he's been, he had the most starts for a O-lineman in a few years. So he's very seasoned. They're both big dudes.
Yeah,
6'5", 6'6", and even Matt Farniak, he's huge. So he's just a big body, hard to get around. But I think those guys have a good future.
Don't want to meet a dude that you guys call huge. All right, what about you?
The one thing that impressed me about Hymas, in any situation, I really never saw him throw a fit or get mad. He keeps a cool head and
like you were saying, seasoned.
Yeah.
That's important for offensive line play because you guys are annoying defensive line. You kind of bothersome, causing problems after the play nonsense. You got to keep it steady. Who else from Nebraska should I know? Because I got to look years in the future, right? So who's coming up? It's a big deal.
I would say Cam Taylor-Britt. He's probably going to be a high recruit for Nebraska.
What position?
He's a cornerback, safety, nickel. He kind of plays a little bit everywhere, everything on the defense and the back end. But as far as physicality, his attributes, it's all there.
Sure. He's got scouting terms on him. All right, Cam Taylor-Britt, who else for you? Give me an offensive player.
Offensive player?
Yeah.
I would say Adrian. Adrian's got.
He's good.
He's got 1 year, and I think he's going to do a lot. He's going to, have that first amazing year I think so that he had, and he'll be fun to watch this year.
No, absolutely. And I think, all right, let me get you this then. What's the Cornhusker record prediction for next year? Because obviously, weird Big Ten season, a little bit of a change. I got puffs going from all the Husker fans around here. What's the prediction? Adrian takes that step forward. What are we looking at?
He takes that step forward, but I'm going to give my perception from I don't play there anymore. I just hope they do great. I just hope they do better. Yeah. Realistically, they have a tough schedule. It's brutal, but I just love to see them play now. So I'll give them 7 wins.
Yeah. So you guys are pros up here. I'm trying to get you to commit something. Oh, they're going to be great. They're going to have a good season. Take a step forward. It's a tough schedule, and not try to commit to any given number. I respect that. All right. Well, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you guys joining me out here. Absolutely. Khalil and Carlos Davis with the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This is Throw the Bone.
Yes, sir.
Throw the bone from Nebraska. This is the Draft Network, Briggs TV in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining us here and Instagram Live. We will have live shows all week long for the NFL Draft, starting with the pre-show on Thursday night for day 1. So make sure you're tuned in to all the Draft Network socials and on thedraftnetwork.com. I'm Ben Solak. Thanks for hopping on with us. Hey, and welcome. Instagram Live here with the Draft Network. We are at Brinks HQ in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I am Ben Solak. These are newfound TDN employees, the twins, Carlos and Khalil Davis of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the team.
Well, there's also been legal action taken in recent years regarding the NFL's kind of lack of protection or responsibility for players' brain health. And I'm curious about how you were involved in that, and what was that course of action like for you?
Well, I think everyone takes a very evaluate each individual as an individual, and then you get kind of stigmatized as one of 5 or 6 different types of categories when it comes to looking at your brain. I've had my brain scanned, and I've done the Harvard study, and I've done many of those instances where my brain relative to other brains is not as bad as I would say a linebacker or a running back that is in collision was. So I just think each and every person is evaluated differently, and by their evaluation, I think there's definitely there's positions, and there's definitely players that are experiencing more brain trauma, CTE like symptoms than others, and I think it's those we need to take care of. I think the league is tried to with this protocol now that they have in place, reaching out to families and players and trying to help them as best as possible. Could it be going to tweak it? I think the league is trying to tweak it too. And as an alumni and care for the players that I played with, the guys that it's imperative that we at least look at that and see if we can try to make the quality of life and the quality of life for all of us a little bit better, a little bit easier. And I think the league is looking at that, and hopefully we can all come to some sort of impasse as far as making sure the game is safer, better, and that we're taken care of.
Well, there's also been legal action.
Best ball season is here, and it's bigger than ever. With no waivers, trades, or setting lineups, it has never been easier to have a shot at the $1 million grand prize. Underdog Fantasy lets you draft a season-long league in seconds, thanks to their slick mobile app and state-of-the-art website. And best of all, if you don't love it, there's a $100 money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Draft for the 2021 season today.
The bigger part here is there are so many people that are impacted by concussions that don't play football, right? That's a major issue with concussions. Hockey has major issues. The military, obviously, there's so many other avenues, but obviously everybody that's watching being a football fan, you're focused on, what can we do to make the game safer? And how do we do that? And this seems like a really, really good option. So, I'd love for you to kind of give us a scene from the football perspective that, what has changed even since you were in the game? I think it's something that I know I'm 31 years old. I can remember watching football even 10 years ago. I don't remember hearing the words concussion protocol so many times, right? It feels like every Sunday you hear those words. So what has changed since you've been playing?
Well, there's so many aspects to it. I mean, the guys are and stronger and faster than they've ever been. And so, it's funny. I'll go and watch games live now, and I'll be standing on the sidelines, and I'll watch the game and the collisions, and I sit back and I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I played this game. I can't believe what bodies go through playing this game to advance. And, with that, obviously, the rise in concussions, or at least we're able to, to see it and notice it and take precautions now. And, there's been a lot of rule changes. All with that in mind is that it's a great game and it offers so much to so many, but we need to continually try to make the game safer. And so taking the head out of the tackle, and some of the rule changes that have been there, some of the way that the NFL is trying to implement it all the way down to the youth levels, and all that stuff is great. But at the end of the day, what we know is you're still not going to eliminate every injury or every head trauma. And that's where we come into play is, okay, we're gotten better at how we take care of it after the fact. And the protocols that we go through once you suffer a concussion, but there's nothing that can really address a concussion. And so that to me is why this is so prevalent and, has a chance to be such a difference maker. And we on the game, on individuals' quality of life. And that's what to me is so exciting about it, because people aren't going to stop playing football. It's going to be a part of life. Head injuries are not going to stop. So now we need to advance and figure out what are the ways in which we can help term effects or the degree that a concussion may impact someone. And so again, I'm really excited to be a part of this. But I also have a passion for protecting what I believe is the greatest commodity in this game, and that's the players And then, as I just said, it goes beyond that because it's personal for me with my oldest son and some of the challenges that he's had to face.
Ladies and gentlemen, draft weekend. It is the Draft Network with Brinks TV, and make sure you're sticking with us all week long as we have wall-to-wall coverage Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the NFL Draft. If you're following along at Brinks.tv, you can lock in with us. Predictive betting, predictive games, trivia, and of course, the draft is full of intrigue this year, even more so than the average year, with what we have another COVID-affected pandemic time, but the draft is... The teams have built their boards, and you know what? We're ready to make a gosh darn pick or two. It's about time. The studio setup we have here at Brinks headquarters to show it to you with a full TDN team of scouts and of fantasy analysts and of partnerships, some of which you've seen, some of which you haven't seen, but we're positive. If you're looking for the best home for draft coverage this weekend, you won't go anywhere else. I'm excited to toss to our hosts for tonight, Trevor and Tamara, out there in the bar. Trev, let's get this thing kicked off, shall we?
Yes, thank you, Ben, so much. Welcome to the Draft Network's 2021 NFL Draft coverage on Brinks.tv. I'm Tamara Brown alongside Trevor Sikkema. Trevor, this year's pre-draft coverage was unlike any other year.
Yes.
It's players opting out.
Yes.
No facility visits, no
Right.
private workouts.
Right.
It's going to create a lot of surprises in the first round.
You know, I thought we were going to go into this discussion talking about the quarterbacks, talking about the teams trading up for different prospects. Now I just want to know where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. That's all I'm thinking about right now and how that's going to impact this draft, because if we thought this had mystery before, it just went to a level we've never. And so buckle up, everybody. I mean, this is going to be a wild ride all night, and for that, we're not alone. It's not just us. It's not just Ben. We got a full scouting staff here with us. These guys, no doubt about it, some of the best in the business. So I wanted to make sure that we got them in early on. Boys, the Jaguars are on the clock. What's going through your mind right now? We have heard so many different rumors, and this team's going this direction, this team's looking to trade up. Kyle, take us in the mind. What are you thinking, man?
So my first thought is Jacksonville really going to make us sit for 10 minutes? That's what we've known since January.
People have been saying that they knew it was Trevor Lawrence, and this got to be quick. I don't know, though. I feel
It's
like
not going to be quick.
They might milk it.
Listen, if I'm Jacksonville, I've already had buzz by trading up. Everybody knows Trevor Lawrence the pick. Aaron Rodgers is a thing right now. For some reason, Tim Tebow's a thing right now. If I'm Jacksonville, I want my 10 minutes in the sun.
Jacksonville thought that they were making the news of the day by bringing back Tim Tebow, right? I mean, like, it's the media circus guy, and all of a sudden, feels like we couldn't even care less about this one. But, all right, so what do you guys think about these quarterbacks and how they're shaping up? And I'll throw Aaron Rodgers right into the mix, because we're not even talking about 5 quarterback options anymore. We're talking about 6, and one of them is the greatest quarterback to ever play, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, coming off an MVP season. So how does that come into the equation?
I think our collective group has talked a lot about the 5 prospects in the draft, but the Aaron Rodgers thing is everybody's just kind of getting their minds around and digesting now, and I think it's fascinating what some of the rumored stipulations that would be required from Aaron's side versus what Green Bay would want if they were going to make a move and make a decision, and San Francisco being on that short list when they just gave up their 2022 and 2023 first-round picks in order to get up to number 3 in the first place. So it's like the total wild card that it's just, we already knew, we didn't know anything, but now we really don't know anything. If this is the cloud that we're just waiting for the skies to open up and chaos to rain down.
You can't tell people we don't know everything right away. I mean, we're like 3 minutes into the show. You got to at least put the mask on.
We know the players, we know the
yes.
teams and their needs, but we have no idea what the domino effect is going to look like, and that's why the NFL draft is so great.
I'll ask you a question about the Rodgers trade. What's the biggest factor you think in where he goes? Is it a team with a lot of cap? Is it a team that can give him a new contract? Because Green Bay talked about that. Is it first round picks this year? Is it first round picks in total? Like, what's the biggest factor on what might get a deal done with Aaron Rodgers?
To me, it's what leverage does Rodgers have, right? Green Bay drafted Jordan Love last year.
Right.
He has literally no leverage with his contract. So if I'm Green Bay, I'm not trading him unless I get maximum return. and that means multiple and out of the NFC. I mean, Mark Slayerth is already talking about Denver Broncos being potentially a done deal, and as someone who's a Justin Herbert fan, that's bad news for me because I'm trying to see Herbert win some Super Bowls, and I'm already dealing with Mahomes, and I can't be dealing with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm hoping he goes somewhere else. I'm hoping the Patriots. So my boy Kyle and Joe.
Chill. Come on. We just got done with that home for 2 decades.
Wait. I want to hear from the former quarterback himself, Jordan.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Denver has a ready-made defense. They're very talented on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
He has a litany of weapons in Denver with Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and then Cortland Sutton's coming back. About this entire thing is Vic Fangio being a little bit older. I think he wants to go ahead and get an established guy in there. They traded for Teddy. We know what Teddy is at this point. I think he's really bumped his head on the ceiling of what he can be. Drew Lock.
He's not Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, that's really what it boils down to with this move.
But yeah, I think this is a roster that Aaron can step in right away and definitely be a contender.
You and I were talking about this a little bit before the show, and we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers plenty, right? And so we're going to get into a lot of the prospect picks, but this is definitely the big news. Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. I mean, all of these quarterbacks are controlling their own situations, it seems. Deshaun Watson as well. It was basically hey, I'm not okay with this situation. I want out. Is this the new wave? These quarterbacks having a lot more control on where they are with their franchises?
Yeah, it's kind of been a makeshift in that players how powerful they are, and then also deadlines really push things up. And we know if Denver wants to make this trade, they have to do it now, tonight, with that number 9 overall pick.
Dre, you look like you had something to say there.
I was just about to add that I think that it comes down to being valued too. I think he wants to feel like he's an important part of the franchise.
Sure.
He's asked for players in years past. I think he wants to go somewhere where he is paid, but he is respected too as well. So I think that definitely plays into the equation.
I was talking with you guys before the show. Who said Green Bay's going to spite him and pick a wide receiver at 9?
He's trades for 9, and then it's okay, we'll draft Jalen Waddle here at 9.
What he's been asking for the whole time.
Absolutely.
So let's change the conversation a little bit and let's get into these actual draft prospects. We know that the Rodgers point throughout the night, but talk to me about these 5 quarterbacks. We're hearing that all 5 could potentially go in the top 10. I mean, that would never have happened before. This would be historic. Is this draft with quarterbacks, you guys think, because you guys have scouted all of them very in-depthly, is this a historic draft class, or do you just think times are changing and the need for a quarterback, if you don't have one, or even if you have a marginal one, that's just what we're going to see tonight in the NFL draft?
Well, I think it has the potential to be a great draft class. And if everybody reaches their respective ceilings, then, yeah, you have the chance to have 5 quality starters in the NFL. But at the same time, I also think about some of the dynamics of this draft process and some of the uncertainties around who is and is not confident about the players that are available to them due to a lot of the things that Tamara referred to at the top, with lack of private workouts and lack of an NFL combine. And it's okay, well, if we're going to invest premium assets, you might as well roll the dice on a quarterback, right? It's the number 1 asset. Think about Mac Jones, less than 20 career starts. Trey Lance, less than 20 career starts. I think that's important to recognize that we talk about 5 quarterbacks going this early. I think there's dynamics on both of who do we feel comfortable investing with everything we do and don't know.
Well, let's be real. I mean, we had 5 quarterbacks go in 2018 in the first round, and we've already learned a lot about those guys. Those guys were supposed to be franchise saviors that really took those teams to the next level, and we've already seen Josh Rosen can't even make a roster now, and Sam Darnold's been traded. And so let's be honest, we have a lot of hope for these 5 quarterbacks, but they're not all going to be those franchise saviors, and now it's up to these teams to not only pick the right one, but build around them, give them the right coaching, and make sure that they have what they need to succeed. I think that's been the issue. The quarterbacks that don't pan out, it's not necessarily about talent. The teams didn't have reached their ceiling, and that's going to be the big task for these teams that welcome in a new quarterback.
And just to piggyback off what your point, Joe, is the 2 quarterbacks that are most successful from the 2018 class, Lamar Jackson goes at the end of the first round to Baltimore, a well-run franchise, have a strong defense, a good offensive line. Josh Allen, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott have it going in Buffalo, are able to nurture him, kind of bring him along slowly, let him kind of tailor the offense more towards his skill set as he develops. And in year 3, it's not so much the quarterback prospect. While it is to an extent, it's really about what's the to build the team around them, right? I mean, Josh Rosen was number 10 overall, and he was, to me, one of the best prospects in that class. And now, like you said, wasn't good. And so when you look at a Zach Wilson, for example, if he goes to the Jets at 2, I love Zach Wilson as a prospect, but the odds are against him succeeding based off the Jets' past history. And so the onus will be on Joe Douglas, it will be on Robert Saleh to get the talent around him right so he can succeed.
I think it's not just their past history, but it's also the volume of moves that they have to make to get the infrastructure around him right. And we've seen this for some of the teams that have been rebuilding lately. When you have to rebuild en masse and do a ton of transactions, you're going to see misses. And for teams that are more established, your hit rate's always going to be not 1,000, right? Nobody's going to bat 1,000 on every signing and draft pick that they make. But when you do it in mass, you kind of see it in a shorter period of time, and it's like, oh wow, like example for the Dolphins with cutting Kyle Van Noy and Trevor Flowers and eating $6 million just to get him off his books 1 year after they sign him. It's like, you have to embrace, we're going to make some misses, but we have to keep churning and be willing to take some L's along the way. And the Jets, especially on the offensive side of the ball with what that depth chart looks like right now, don't be afraid to go all in and really push your investments into supporting your quarterback, because they didn't do that with Sam Darnold.
That's what you want. You want an organization that could absolutely go all in. Beautiful job, guys, introing the Aaron Rodgers. We don't just have a scout's perspective here on this show. We also have a fantasy football perspective. So Jamie and Josh, they're over on the fantasy couch. Boys, tell us about these quarterbacks.
Well, Josh, Underdog Fantasy here joining me today, and there's a lot of very interesting quarterbacks here at the very top, but making a productive rookie season for a fantasy quarterback is not easy, especially in leagues that don't have Superflex, don't have 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
We all expect Trevor Lawrence to be the first quarterback off the board. It's been about a full year of that at this point. Is he fantasy relevant in year 1?
The public absolutely thinks he is. Right now, he's going as the quarterback 14, ADP just outside of 110 overall. He's sandwiched between the Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan types, when we also think maybe Matt Ryan ends up with a Kyle Pitts and a much better offensive coordinator. That's really saying something with Trevor Lawrence. And I'm just excited to see him, not just with Urban Meyer, obviously, but more importantly, Darrell Bevell, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, James Robinson. Pretty good group for a rookie to fall into.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll get into him more once the pick becomes officially official. But we have a few other names. We could see as many as 5, or maybe even if something gets wild, 6 come off the board tonight. Is there a player on that list that maybe an Underdog ADP right now isn't going as high as you think they should? There could be a little bit of a value there. We don't know where anybody's going yet. We'll know in 4 hours where at least the top 5, if not top 6 quarterbacks are going. Does anybody catch your eye in that group?
Well, the people can go play Underdog right now, and if you expect Trey Lance to be the pick there at number 3, he's going right around 200 overall in terms of his ADP, after Jameis Winston, after Derek Carr, ahead of Jared Goff, ahead of Taysom Hill. And if we none of us expect Jimmy Garoppolo to be in that roster very long. After
he might not be alive on Sunday.
After
if you saw that
Kyle
press
Shanahan,
conference,
put him 6 feet under.
Dead man walking.
So he walks into an offense with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, one of the best play callers in the NFL. And not only can he hit the open receivers, because Trey Lance is accurate, but he also offers you something that all the other 49er quarterbacks never have. Rushing upside, rushing potential, and he scored over 10 rushing touchdowns just a few seasons ago.
And look, we all know how important that is. If you just look at the QB1 or QB2 from last year, Josh Allen, 8 rushing touchdowns, 25 over the last 3 years.
It's the entire top of the group. I mean, other than, let's even put Aaron Rodgers, who right now is the quarterback 8 on Underdog ADP.
Yes.
You have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. There's all some rushing potential with all of those.
And rushing touchdown potential, which is huge.
Correct. It's almost a necessity at this point. The days of late round quarterback are over, and now you need that rushing floor, that Konami code of the running quarterback and rushing potential.
Couldn't agree more. It's why a guy like Justin Herbert basis, despite your eyes telling you that you were getting elite production from him,
right?
Because in fantasy it's a little bit different. It's like the running back that doesn't catch. They could be really darn good, but unless you're Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb, you're going to have some reservations about him. But let's shift away from the rookies ever so slightly.
Okay.
I want to get your quick thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. Denver seems to be the hot name right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weapons there. There's no Devontae Adams there.
Right.
There are a lot of weapons there. Noah Fant at tight end. I want to forget him either.
Yeah, you know, it's probably not a move where Aaron is saying you didn't put enough around me, because I would argue that you have an all-pro left tackle, an all-pro wide receiver, a top 10 running back, and then an offensive play caller who you won the MVP with last year. But if he improved last year, and when you look at it, teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that are drafting inside the top 10, they probably, and without having to trade up, probably have the best roster.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, and Courtland Sutton coming back this season is going to be massive. I feel like we forget about him because we haven't seen him play football in so long, but he might be one of the true wide receiver one alphas across the NFL. And you add in a Noah Fant in his third year, you add in a Jerry Jeudy in his second year, KJ Hamler, so on and so forth. If we can pluck Aaron from here and put him here
drop him
into
right
that
there in
offense,
Denver.
I'm all for it.
So it's fascinating. So where would you move Aaron? I know you probably haven't done your personal rankings yet for all these guys, but what is your sense just off the top of your head? Does Aaron Rodgers, let's say the Denver trade happens, whether it's tonight, whether it's 3 months from now, whatever it might be, does he move up your board, down your board, what do you think, or right about the same? Because you do lose that top wide receiver option, but you are going in a really strong situation where you might not have that one guy, but you got a lot of those alternate options that are just, quite frankly, better than Marquez Valdez-Scantling and all the other
and
guys
ESB, like you're just seeing a drastic improvement on the secondary options. There aren't many Devontae Adams walking the earth. But in terms of being able to dish the ball to multiple playmakers, the Broncos might be a bit better. I think that there is an argument to place Aaron Rodgers, if he does land somewhere else other than Green Bay, ahead of Justin Herbert, ahead of Russell Wilson, who are the quarterback 6 and quarterback 7. But at the same time, can we really expect the same year, even in a better, quote-unquote, talented offense than what?
Because people were kind of down on Aaron Rodgers in the fantasy community last year. I know he was great. He won the MVP, and he had that amazing season. It is. And to be fair, some of it is justified. Some of it is the sports culture we live in. Nights like tonight. This is exciting. Somebody's coming into the league with an immense amount of talent to your team, maybe two somebodies if you're the Jets or the Dolphins, or maybe somebody else comes up and makes a trade. You're always going to be excited with the shiny new toys, the Trevor Lawrences of the world that come in. I would not be surprised to see Trevor Lawrence have an ADP in a similar range as Aaron Rodgers, even though on the surface that feels crazy.
Just quickly, Aaron Rodgers last season, again, in that MVP campaign, was the quarterback 5 in fantasy points per game behind Dak Prescott, who obviously played half the season, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Kyler Murray. So it's not just, the awards at the end of the year that shows you how good someone was for our purposes. And I could expect A-Rod to hit that once again as the quarterback 5 this year.
He's done it before. I mean, he's been a top 2 quarterback before. And if there's one thing we know in fantasy, is we could pretty well guess, no matter who it's going to be, no matter how great they are, the QB1 that we enter the preseason with will not be the QB1 at the end of the season.
Correct.
We have seen it time and time again, whether it's touchdown percentage regression, whether it's rushing yards regression, whatever it might be. We saw it with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, and they had good seasons the year afterward. Carson Wentz, who let's probably not mention him much, but just the thing is, we've seen these guys have decent follow-up seasons, but they're rarely ever that QB1.
Right.
So, but maybe Aaron Rodgers can be in that spot. How does that change your evaluation of? How does that change your evaluation of any other Broncos players if that were to happen right off the top?
I mean, right now, you're going from Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, and even though Teddy last year connected to Joe Brady had 4,000-yard scrimmage players on that offense. I mean, we don't talk about that enough. I wouldn't say at any point Teddy Bridgewater was fantasy relevant at all.
No.
Now you have a player in Aaron Rodgers who is going to be a week in, week out starter if he lands in that team. So Courtland Sutton, to me, would emerge as a top 12, top 14 option at that receiver spot. And I would try to get Jerry Jeudy in every single best ball format I was going for.
Be really fascinating to see if the Green Bay Packers end the night with Aaron Rodgers still on their roster or if he's in Denver. Let's send it back to Trevor and Tamara.
Thanks, boys. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars are officially on the clock, and it's important to check the time because I have a sandwich bet with my co-host Benjamin Solak that it will be less than 3 minutes and 30 seconds when the Jaguars get their pick in. So we're going to go back over to the scouting desk. We're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence. Guys, this is the consensus #1 overall pick. I don't think there's a lot of mystery here with this one, but I'm curious. When you talk about a player that hasn't lost much in college, we also know hasn't lost much in high school, he's pairing up with a coach who also doesn't really know losing, comes from Florida, comes from Ohio State. These are two guys who are going to be dealing with a lot more losses than they're used to. Is that going to go into any kind of early struggles for either their head coach, Urban Meyer, or their new quarterback, as we think it will be with Trevor Lawrence?
I really like Joe, who was responsible for the ACC throughout the summer and the fall, to tackle kind of the dynamics of Trevor at Clemson specifically, and then Jordan was responsible for the Jacksonville Jaguars for our pro scouting assignment. So I'd really like Joe to kind of take that angle from Trevor's perspective at college, and then Jordan extrapolating what Trevor experienced it and putting that into what we can expect in Jacksonville.
Here, Joe.
I don't think we have any questions about the talent that is Trevor Lawrence. He's got size, athleticism, a big-time arm. He can do everything you want a modern NFL quarterback to do. If you want to start letting some doubt creep into your thoughts about how this is going to work out, I think you do start there with, everything's pretty much went well for Trevor Lawrence at every step of the way. Barely lost any football games ever. And he's now part of a Jacksonville organization that really has no history of successfully developing a quarterback under a coach who's never been in the NFL. Urban Meyer knows nothing about developing franchise quarterbacks. So if you want to let doubt creep in, I think that's where you let that come in. But if there's anybody that could change this narrative, it has to be Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, so Trevor Lawrence, draft. Yes, Jordan Reed, former quarterback. What it's going to be like for him going into believed to be a Jaguars situation that, let's face it, one win last year. Okay, this is a team that doesn't really know winning in its franchise. This is a clash of losing franchise. Has a equation.
Yeah, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier of how Jacksonville won the opening game of the season last year, and everybody thought they were going to go on a run there. But
this was the year. This was the turnaround, baby. Gardner Minshew.
They win 15 straight. But whenever you take a quarterback in the first round, you know that guy's going to play right away, especially #1 overall. But I think this is a really underrated spot for him to step into, even though it's more of a college staff. I think the Jaguars have a decent offensive line. You bring back Cam Robinson on the franchise tag, and then also you have Jawan Taylor, who was a promising player last year as well. They have a bunch of weapons on the perimeter with DJ Chark, and then also Colin Johnson showed some promise.
That's all for us in the first segment. Plenty more draft talk here as we get the Draft Network's draft show underway. We'll come up to you after the break. So what's one thing that maybe you'd like to share with an NFL fan who might not be, I think I hear this quite often where people are, getting upset with the changes and things that, the game's going, getting softer, the game's getting this, maybe for somebody that hasn't been through a concussion, what's one thing you could share light on as to why, this is important, this is crucial. And, you're talking about human beings, right? And we all love football. I run a company that's completely related to football. So trust me, I want the game around. Kurt obviously works in football. So I think we can safely say we.
Right. And I've got 7 kids, and I always kind of liken things to with my kids is that, I want my kids to experience things and enjoy their passions. But every time they do something, the first thing I do as a parent is going, okay, how can I make sure that they're safe? Whatever it is that they want to do, I've got, kids that ride horses and just different things, but I'm always thinking about safety first. How do we protect her? And so I would just tell fans, look at it the same way, is that it is a great game and it will always be a great game. But sometimes we just have to be smarter, and we've got to make the proper changes to protect the game, but more specifically, the players within the game. And so it's how I come to look at everything. Is I get it. I understand the game's different than when I play. Why can't you do that? Or why don't they allow that guy to hit? What's that guy supposed to do? I understand all that. But when you take a step back and you understand the premise behind why they're making these changes, and the fact that it's still a great game and we're still getting to see the greatest athletes in the world do the thing that we love. Yes, it's going to have to evolve, as everything does, but it's evolving for the right purposes. And those purposes are to make sure that we're protecting those players and that commodity, so those fans can watch the greatest players in the world play as long as possibly can and give us the entertainment that they.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. From Kill Cliff, the #1 clean energy drink in the mind of Joe Rogan, comes the Flamin' Joe. Sugar-free, B vitamins, electrolytes, all them good drink things. An epic spicy pineapple fusion from out of this world, straight into your drink hole. Own it. KillCliff.com.
Brings TV. Play, win, repeat.
Oh my.
Play, win, repeat.
Oh my.
Win, repeat.
Oh my.
Ben is here, and it's with no waivers, trades, or set. It has never been easier to have a shot at $1 million grand prize. Underdog Fantasy lets you draft a season-long league in seconds, thanks to their slick mobile app and state-of-the-art website. And best of all, if you don't love it, there's a $100 money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Draft for the 2021 season today.
Finally, the first pick is in for the 2021 NFL Draft. Hold on to your... It's a bit of a surprise. No. It's Trevor Lawrence, the Clemson quarterback, heads to the Jacksonville Jaguars, as was long expected, but of course they made us wait like 20 minutes for the first pick to come out because the NFL likes to do their dog and pony show a little bit. Trevor Lawrence was an unbelievable performer at the University of Clemson, first winning the national championship as a freshman, taking over the starting job from an incumbent championship-playing Kelly Bryant. Made another championship in 2019, made a semifinal in 2020, but the quality of play remained. And after that 2018 freshman season, he was preordained to be just this, the #1 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. I charted Trevor Lawrence, along with all the other major quarterbacks, in contextualized quarterbacking, which is one of the Draft Network's premium offerings, which is advanced stats and analytics. They're going to show up here. For the top quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, 26% of his targets came behind the line of scrimmage. Now, what does that mean? It means that in this Clemson offense, he didn't necessarily have to push the ball down the field, process the field, and read the field. As a matter of fact, in a Tony Elliott offense, we're looking at a heavy RPO approach, a very collegiate style. Lawrence would walk up and know, all right, if I've got 3 corners over 3 receivers, I'm going to throw a bubble screen. And one of my other 5-star recruits is going to go pick up a 9-yard gain for me. So that 26% of targets behind the line of scrimmage is interesting, is 29% of his dropbacks were RPOs. Now, sometimes those are handoffs, but very often those are passes as well. And RPOs are a new and budding approach in college. It's leaking its way into the NFL as well. If you remember that Eagles Super Bowl from a few years ago, RPOs all over the place. The Bears offense, the Chiefs offense, RPOs all over the place. Run pass option allows the quarterback to the ball against a certain defensive look, drop back and pass against a certain defensive look. And that's things easier. It usually is only a 1-read throw, so 26% of the throws behind the line of scrimmage and 29% of the throws were RPOs. In short, Trevor Lawrence, he ran a very collegey offense, and usually this is be a bit of a concern in the pre-draft process. It wasn't the case with Trevor. Everybody knows Trevor's a cerebral guy. Everybody knows he prepares correctly, and he can make all the throws. And so while this offense, very similar style of offense, it invited questions about Baker Mayfield, coming out of Oklahoma, he ended up a first overall pick. Lamar Jackson, coming out of Louisville, he ended up a first round pick and an MVP within 2 seasons. The NFL is becoming more comfortable with this style of offense when it comes to evaluating their quarterbacks. And of course, when you are as dangerous of a passer as Lawrence is, it makes it a little bit easier. Trevor Lawrence with one of the best placement scores I've ever given out inside the pocket, 75 out of 100. He's a pocket passer. Yes, he can run. If he has to escape the pocket, he will. But Lawrence is able to read the field. He is able to manage a pocket, really good at those subtle movements against little pressure to buy himself a half second of time and deliver the ball down the field. So placement from the pocket is critical for Lawrence, and it's critical for this upcoming Jags offense. Okay, so we all know Urban Meyer, head coach for Florida, head coach for Ohio State. He's the head coach now in Jacksonville. But his offensive coordinator is Darrell Bevel. He used to be the OC for the Lions. Brian Schottenheimer is the passing game coordinator. He used to be the OC for the Seahawks. These are very traditional pro offenses. Not what he did in college, not the RPOs, not the behind the line of scrimmage targets. This is downfield. This is vertical. Think about Matt Stafford in that Lions offense, throwing to Kenny Galladay, throwing to Marvin Jones. Think about Russ Wilson, 7-step dropbacks, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. This is a vertical, pocket-based offense, and it's going to be different than what Lawrence ran when he was in college. So does that mean he's going to be bad? Does that mean he's going to struggle? Potentially. These are difficult transitions to make, and I know that Urban sent Trev the old playbook in like February or something, because this pick's been the pick for a while, but it's one thing to know the playbook, and it's another thing to run a completely different offense at NFL speed, especially when Clemson played in the ACC and regularly had such a talent advantage against SEC defenses. And so, will Lawrence be bad? Absolutely not. I think Lawrence is as safe of a bet to be a good NFL quarterback as we ever see in the NFL draft. But with that said, could the onboarding process be a little more difficult? Could the ramp up be a little bit longer? It could. This is going to be a significant shift. And with a significant shift, you're going to see bumps. You're going to see growing pains. Development is never linear. It's always jagged, stop, start. It's difficult to pull off. And so we should expect Lawrence to be good. But we should acknowledge that the offense he played in babied him a little bit. And that's going to mean that when he enters the NFL, if Urban Meyer's able to baby him, that'll help him transition. But if they give him the full gamut, the whole kit and the caboodle, it might be a little bit tough in those first few weeks. So Jaguars fans, please, for me, be patient with your rookie starting quarterback. It might be a little bit tricky at first, but I think he's going to be okay. We are going to throw this to the TDN fantasy team. Guys, I don't know if you heard, but Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback of the Jags now. Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones. What's it mean for these guys? Jamie and Josh.
Well, Josh, the worst kept secret in the football world, for good reason, final out. Trevor Lawrence, a Jacksonville Jaguar. I'm really intrigued by this. He's got DJ Chark, Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, maybe another weapon before the end of the night. Maybe Tim Tebow by the time we get to training camp. Maybe not the last one. But still, he's got a lot of group of weapons there. They have a new team there. They threw a ton last season. Will he be fantasy relevant in year one? And is he a priority for you? Is he somebody that you need to come out of drafts with